What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the Warframe video. So we got this week in Warframe, we go over the entire weekly reset. And yes, TennoCon was yesterday, and we got news on things coming out this week in Warframe in that news. So let's get right into it. But before we do, make sure you're subbed to this channel. We do daily Warframe video uploads. And yeah, we got a ton of coverage on the Warframe 1999 details and information from TennoCon in the previous video. So yeah, you can check that out if you want to. But yeah, for this week, guys, the Dog Days event is returning according to the devs. If you don't know what Dog Days is, it's basically a squirt gun fight with exclusive loot. And as far as the changes this year, apparently assists with the squirt gun will count for giving you the event resource like pearls and all that. So that's where you get the soaker fish ephemera and some other stuff like beach balls too. So it might be worth it this year. Speaking of worth it, we got an Umbra Forma blueprint at Teshin. Yeah, there's an Umbra Forma alert that's like a level 10 capture mission, and you got an Umbra Forma at Teshin for 150 steel essence as well. So lots of Umbra Forma to go around here if you want to throw them on any of your builds. And of course, you got your Kuva and your relics down here as well. Reminder too that the Glaive Prime and Ember Prime and Rhino and all that are going to be available till the end of the year, so you can get IF from relic packs like this. So yeah, guys, the Lotus Eaters update is going to be scheduled for August, which is in about 2 weeks from right now. And as far as what's going to be in the Lotus Eaters update, there will be a new quest, and we'll have Sevagoth Prime. Yeah, they skipped over Zaku for some reason. Maybe Zaku will be in the winter, but yeah, Sevagoth Prime's next in August with the Epitaph and Nautilus Prime. So those will probably be really, really strong items. So if you want to, get prepped for the update by doing your normal Prime Access prep stuff, like, Syndicate Relic Packs stacked up, Syndicate Medallions stacked up, all that good stuff, you can maybe be prepared for Sevagoth Prime on day one. But yeah, there's no actual release date on it, just a release window.
And whose business?
For Archides Weekly Wares, let's see if we have anything actually worth coming over to this place for. And reminder too, there will be new Incarnons probably in like September or October of this year. Now as far as what we got over here, we got plenty of ribbons this week. We got a Shotgun Ribbon for 15 Pathos, a Forma Blueprint for 10 Pathos, some Kuva for 10 Pathos, and 2 different Ribbon mods, a Rifle Ribbon mod and a Melee Ribbon mod, each for 15 Pathos. Quite a few ribbons this week, but yeah, no Orican reactors or anything like that, so not super worth it.
Nasty little ways.
Now, as far as your Elite Deep Archimedean and your Archon Hunt, I'd also let you know that since there will be a hotfix this week involving Dog Days, that means that the blue Archon Shard, Owl Archon, will finally not be glitched out. If you didn't know this, we're going between the red Archon and the yellow Archon every other week, it feels like, because there's a glitch with the blue Archon, the Owl, where it can't even appear because they took it out of the game. So that should be fixed this week, and hopefully we'll go back to the normal rotation. But yeah, right now you get a red Archon Shard from the Wolf Archon. Yeah, it feels like he's there every other week because he is here every other week. Now for your Elite Deep Archimedean, I did call out last week, where is our boss fight? It's been months. It feels like a month since the last boss fight for the EDA. Let's see if that actually finally came back. If I see Alchemy, Exterminate, Survival again, I might go crazy here because it feels like every single week is that. But yeah, just going over here to see, get ready for some yapping from Lloyd.
Word to the wise tenant. Lloyd has tasked us with finalizing.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. It's not Exterminate, Survival, Alchemy. It's Mere Defense, Alchemy, Exterminate. So it seems like there's something wrong here. Where is the boss fight? Where is the Shattered One boss fight in the EDA? It seriously has been gone for a long time. But either way, let's go over what we have this week. As this looks like a pretty easy one, especially with Mere Defense as the first mission. Okay, so for the mission types, Mere Defense. For the first one, we got Eroding Senses as your first elite, or your first Deep Archimedean modifier. If you don't have 3 of these, the EDA, the Elite Archimedean adds on an extra modifier. Okay, but as far as what you got here for the Mere Defense, Eroding Senses. The Oracle and Vitrium take damage over time. Collecting the required Vastine glyphs will halt the degradation and heal it partially. So, I'm going to recommend to you, on this one, if you can, pick up like 45 glyphs in between the waves. Pick up the last glyph as the thing spawns to get that heal immediately and get those radiation towers up. You technically don't need to do that, but I would recommend to do that, as if you just randomly pick up the 50th one in between waves, it feels like a massive, massive waste. Moving on to the next modifier. Hostile regeneration. Enemies slowly regenerate health. Make sure you got that thing locked down because it's going to be taking damage constantly on its own, and extra damage from enemies will make it even worse. So you can potentially even fail. At least it's on the first mission, so you don't waste that much time. And for the Elite Archimedean modifier, Bold Venture, enemies take more, will deal less damage and take more damage, but they also get increased movement speed, attack speed, and fire rate. Not a big deal of a modifier, but still something to keep in mind as this thing will be taking damage all the time. Alchemy is the second mission, and I feel like we have the exact same modifiers like literally every week. Like seriously, DE, could we cut it with the Alchemy every single week here? It's getting really, really repetitive and boring. But the first modifier is hazardous goods. Amphors will inflict their associated element while holding them. So if you have a toxin grenade, it will go through your shields and toxin proc you through your shield. So be really careful about that. Next one, Devil's Bargain. Allies within a 4 meters of a slain enemy will get increased fire rate but reduce their ammo efficiency. So you're going to waste all your ammo if you're near a dead enemy, but it shouldn't really matter that much, especially if it's an Incarnon. And the final one, an actually pretty deadly modifier right here, Explosive Potential. Rupturing Fragments replace the Shuffling Fragments. So those arm enemies, they will explode for about 5,000 damage per explosion. So be really, really careful about those guys in the Alchemy mission. And for the final mission, Exterminate, I mean, do I even need to read this stuff off? It should be a complete cakewalk if you're getting to the Exterminate at the end. It's like the victory lap, basically. But I'm going to read it anyway. First one, Necromech Influx. Mechs will appear with greater frequency. You can pretty much just ignore them for the most part. Commanding Culverins. Rogue Culverins equip their weapons that will deal 5 times damage to Overguard and Necromechs. So if you're playing Dante, you're playing Styanax, whoever, like a big Overguard frame, even Frost nowadays and Ember, they will shred your Overguard much faster. But thankfully, with frames like Ember and Styanax and Dante and all that, you can just spam Overguard back anyway. It's not that big of a deal. They just made this because Overguard is so overpowered in these missions. And the final modifier, Post-Mortal Surges. Sun enemies explode with a Void Energy Explosion. Just don't be near them when they die, basically, is all I can say for that one. As far as your individual modifiers, ooh, we got some annoying ones this week. What are these modifiers? Oh my gosh! Okay, we got Gear Embargo, probably the worst one. No gear can be used, no on-calls, no energy pads, no nothing. Just you and your frame and your weapons, that's all you get. Powerless. All abilities are disabled until you kill 50 enemies. That's pretty annoying with Gear Embargo, turns out. So you can't cast any abilities until you get 50 kills. Lethargic Shields. Shield recharge delay increased by 500%. So you need things like Brief Respite. You need things like Harrow's Change. You need instant shield restores because shield regen, you cannot depend on that here. Be very aware of that your shields will basically just not even exist for the most part. And for the final modifier, Transference Distortion. Oh my gosh, these modifiers are really bad this week. At least the missions are pretty easy. You cannot use your operator. Okay, so you can read off all we have here. No operator, no abilities until you get 50 kills, and no gear allowed. And oh yeah, by the way, no shield recharge either while we're at it. Hopefully you got some really strong gear this week, guys, like I do. I've got Revenant and some other good stuff, it looks like. So I should have a walk in the park, but yeah. If you don't have that, maybe try not trying on every modifier. Like maybe keep your operator activated, or maybe keep your Gear Embargo turned off. A pretty nasty modifier, but a pretty easy mission like lineup here. And as far as Bird 3 Shard, let's see what we got over here. And let's see, it is a yellow Archon Shard for Bird 3. Reminder, if you haven't played in a while, you can now do the EDA, and you can do 3 Netrocells to get 30,000 rep for the week, so you don't have to do any bounties at all. Just do your EDA and your Netrocells, you'll have 30,000 rep at the end of that. Very nice for getting that shard from Bird 3. Alright, so enough of checking out the EDA. Let's go take a look at the specifics of the Archon hunt, and we'll look at the Nightwave as well. Now, at TennoCon, they didn't say anything about a new Nightwave season, so you've got plenty of time on this one, guys. No big rush. But as far as your Archon hunt, it is the red Archon, but it's got Rescue, Mission Type, Interception, and the final boss showdown. And yeah, next week we should be back to the blue Archon, I hope. I hope that we get that fixed, but maybe we won't. Now for your Deviri stuff, the thing that most people care about, let's start with the normal Deviri and what frames you can farm. Alright, we got Korra, Gara, and Revenant. If you have been playing this game for a while, it shouldn't be any surprise at all that I'm going to recommend you get Korra here, because Korra comes from normal Sanctuary Onslaught, which is not a place that people really want to be farming too much. That being said, Revenant comes from bounties on the Plains of Eidolon, and as does Gara. These frames both come from bounties, not exactly that hard to get. Korra, on the other hand, is not the best to get, so I'd highly recommend that you get Korra. Not to mention her helmet is very good, and Snare's a very good helmet for taking down Acolytes and some elite enemies that are not immune to it. So I'd recommend her, and also I got an accumulating Whip Claw augment as I level up. That's a must-use augment on Korra. But reminder too, this augment is random per player. For the Steel Path Incarnons, let's see what we have. And also guys, yeah, there will be new Incarnons probably in like October, just a heads up. Reminder before we go over this stuff, though, if you haven't played in a while, you can get Kuva or a Riven instead of an Incarnon if you already have these Incarnons and don't want any dupes. Alright, so let's go over what we have. We have a very good Incarnon rotation this week. I'm going to go ahead and tell you about what these ones do. Alright, we got the first one, the Lex Incarnon. The Incarnon form on this becomes like a gigantic plasma shot, can kill the entire hallway. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. I think this is the best pistol in the game for killing acolytes on the steel path. It is a pretty much effortless one-shot with some of the builds I use. It's a slow weapon, but it's a very powerful weapon. I would say it's one of the best choices this week for sure, especially if you're not looking at the melees as much. A very powerful Incarnon, like shotgun pistol, basically. Think of like the Arcaplasma, or like a Catchman, a stronger Catchman. As far as the top tier Incarnons, you get a critical parallel giving double crit chance and crit damage. Very, very powerful on the Lex Prime. Highly recommend this one for this week. Magistar Incarnon, very, very different than the Lex Incarnon. This one's going to be used as a stat stick on Cora. You got like the, baby's first level 10,000 right here. You got Magistar Incarnon, you got Cora normal from the normal circuit. This thing is crazy good for Cora's stat stick because what does it do? It's got a huge crit buff on the final tier. Critical parallel, just like on the Lex, we got it on here with the Magistar. There's also a arcane called Arcane, what is it called? Magus Aggress. Magus Aggress will work on this thing. It's supposed to work on heavy blades, but it works on hammers too, giving you even more critical damage on Cora. I just highly recommend getting this on. By the way, if you're using it on Cora, use the Magistar normal, not the Sancti Magistar. Sancti Magistar has lower Riven stats. But yeah, the Sancti Magistar is fine too, just for a normal weapon. I would not recommend it as a stat stick on Cora. Very high recommendation if you want to play specifically Cora or another crit pseudo-exalted frame. Boltor Incarnon, it exists. It's definitely strong. But as far as, top tier stuff, we got such top tier stuff this week. The Boltor Incarnon's more of just a for fun weapon. But yeah, as far as which one should use, the Telos Boltor or the Boltor Prime, the Telos Boltor used to have a glitch where it did a bunch more damage, but they fixed that. The Boltor Prime is definitely better nowadays. It's also golden and shiny too. Reminder, now that we have Rhino back until the end of the year, you can actually go farm the Boltor Prime right now. As far as the top tier Incarnons, you got things like crit chance increase, hybrid increase, or status chance increase. This thing's got very good status chance on the Boltor Prime. It becomes a multi-shot / nail gun with the Incarnon form. It's basically a juiced up version of the normal Boltor, but it becomes slash focused as well. A good recommendation. It's also the only primary this week as well. Bronco Incarnon, I'd say this is one of the most underrated Incarnons in the whole game. It is a Incarnon shotgun pistol. In the Incarnon form, it will be very similar to the Dual Tox. It will ricochet at nearby enemies, and also gets a lot more damage, too. I like this thing a lot. It can one-shot level 10,000s, but I can't deny the fact that it is very clunky to use. Terrible magazine size. Thankfully, it's got some Incarnon perks to give more magazine size, but yeah, it's like, I think like 4 or 6 magazine normally. So you get to reload it quite often, and it's pretty clunky feeling weapon, but very strong too. If you have the Dizzying Rounds Augment mod, which should be in the NIGHTWAVE rotation nowadays, it can give this thing crazy status chance and guaranteed finishers and enemies. And then for the final one here, we got the Ceramic Dagger Incarnon. Now, before, this would be a much easier recommendation for me, but there's unfortunately an issue we've run into. In the Jade Shadows update, they kind of indirectly nerfed, actually it was more like a direct nerf. So the Gun and Blade passive for the Ceramic Dagger used to work on secondaries and primaries. It was called Gun and Blade for that matter. But now they should just rename it to Primary and Blade because this only works on primary kills right now. And that's how it's supposed to work. So that means no easy stacks from Mesa's pistols to fully stack this thing up with Gun and Blade. If you want to stack it up with Mesa, you have to use a primary and then use your guns on Mesa. So it technically can still work, but yeah, I'd recommend the Firax Wraith Incarnon over the Ceramic Dagger Incarnon for specifically Mesa after that patch. It's still really good, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it is going to be more of a, stat stick, for sure. Actually, no, it's more of a general weapon, I'd say, nowadays, because the dagger did kind of get indirectly nerfed by changing that. Not as good on Mesa anymore. It was very chill on Mesa, now it's a lot more effort on Mesa, so. As far as the recommendation, yeah, it's still a really good melee, don't get me wrong, it's still a really good melee, still a really good stat stick, it's just not as OP as before. As far as recommendations this week, if you need a stat stick, you can go for the Magistar or the Ceramic Dagger. But for as far as general use, what should you go for? I think you should definitely get that Lex Incarnon this week. It's so powerful. If you have a problem with Acolytes, you will no longer have a problem with Acolytes. Monitoring for Corrosive and Crit, and they're gone. Additionally, the Magistar is actually not that bad for a normal weapon too. I said it's a stat stick for Cora, but honestly, you can do a slam attack build in this thing too. Got massive AoE on the slam attack. That can be really, really fun and really, really good. So maybe get those two right there. But honestly, guys, you got plenty of good options this week. I'd say Lex is probably my number 1. Number 2 going to be either the Magistar or the Ceramic Dagger. I can't in good conscience say that the Bronco is like really like top tier recommendation worthy, even though I like it a lot. It's definitely underrated, but it's underrated for a good reason because it's very clunky feeling. If you need a primary, well, only primary option this week is the Voltor Primes, or the Voltor Incarnon, so you got plenty of time to farm that out. But yeah, my top 2 recommendations would be these 2 guys. A very good Slim Attack build, a very good Stat Stick build, and it's just a very powerful pistol in general. So, hope you guys found that one helpful. Let's go over the Nightwave and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I've already told you about Dog Days. It will probably be on Tuesday is my guess, when Dog Days returns, but yeah, there will be a hot fix either way. Alright, for your Nightwave stuff, reminder, there's no end date in sight on this, so you have no rush at all, but I'm going to tell you what it is anyway. Sound Sleeper is your first weekly. Complete 3 Nightmare missions of any type. So to unlock a Nightmare mission, beat every mission on a planet, and then you'll get Nightmare missions once per 8 hours, I think it is. And that gives you things like Nightmare mods. Catch 3 rare Servofish in the Orb Ballast. Pretty straightforward there. First Elite Weekly, Archon Hunter. Complete an Archon Hunt. So if you don't have that unlocked, beat the Veilbreaker quest. And then your other Elite Weekly, Speedster. Complete a capture mission in less than 90 seconds. Wukong, Titania, Volt, Nova, all the speedrun frames to get this done. Gauss even. So, if you think it's hard, I'd recommend go to Ukko in the Void and just blitz it. Blitz it. Don't kill any enemies. Only kill the capture target and capture them, and then just run to the end. You should be able to get this done, no problem at all. And your normal permanent weeklies, 30 Eximus, 15 missions, and 500 enemies. For your credit offerings this week, let's see what we got. Oh yeah, I just saw a Caliban helmet there. Guys, reminder too, if you have not farmed Caliban yet, Caliban is being given out for free in the unannounced or the unnamed update in like November or October of this year. So don't farm Caliban if you want to avoid it. But yeah, you got your evergreen stuff at the top, and you got some helmets here. Any helmet that looks good to you, feel free to pick it up. They're not too expensive as far as these ducat values. Got the Yoreli helmet, which was shown on stage at TennoCon yesterday. Yeah, we needed some new emotes in this game for Yoreli, if you know what I'm saying. Okay, as far as the Nightwave augments, we got Bursting Mass for the Mutalist Quanta, Efficient Beams for Convetrix, and Wild Frenzy for the Gurkata. Now, as far as would I recommend these ones, I really wouldn't. I'd say if you're using the Convetrix, you need this one, but I mean, the Gurkata is not super popular, neither is the Bursting Mass Quanta, so I'd say if you want to get any of these, get the Efficient Beams and then maybe ignore the other ones for now. For Aura mods, you got Steel Charge, Infested Impotence, and Dreamer's Bond. Steel Charge is really good. I'd say maybe get that one if you don't have it already, but Dreamer's Bond comes from a early game relay, or not relay, a junction, so you should be already having this one anyway. And then Infested Impotence is terrible. Maybe it will be good with Infested Liches, right? And as far as the Mastery Fodder stuff here, we got the Dark Dagger, and that's basically it for Mastery Fodder. Then you got Purging Slash for X-Scale, Directed Convergence for the Supra, Shrapnel Rounds for the Marelock, and Power of 3 for Ivara. None of these are really worth running, I'd say. Even though I used to like the Power of 3 for Ivara. And that's going to basically be your weekly reset, guys. Reminder, too, if you haven't played in a while, you can go to Iron Wake for some Kuva and Rivens. You can also go to Archimedean Yanta on the Zeramon to get some extra Kuva there every single week. Let's look at what we have over here. Now, these are random per player per week. I actually currently have an Ember one active right now from last week. So they last for one whole week, and it's random stats. So I got secondary damage and immunity status for Ember. Maybe you wouldn't have that one. Let's see what we got here. And yeah, thanks for all the support on the videos recently, guys. Oh my gosh. Oh my... What? The best Ivara Invigoration, dude. Power, Strength, and Parkour Velocity. Oh my gosh. I need to play some Ivara this week. I think we're going to do AX52, level 10,000 Ivara after looking at this. Dash Wire, crazy damage, Parkour Velocity because she can't even run. I'll be rolling at the speed of, you know, a garbage truck or something that has to stop every so often. That is a great invigoration for Ivara, and I'm very happy about that one. For Limbo, okay, that looks more like what I was expecting here. We got melee damage and jump resets for Limbo. Yeah. Okay, moving on, we got the last one for Protea, energy rate and primary critical chance. Okay, so we got some pretty underwhelming ones for the other characters, but the Ivara one is nasty. So maybe look up for a new Ivara synergy video this week with like the AX52 potentially. So, either way, guys, see you in the next one. Appreciate your support. I'm live on stream right now. If you want to come by, stop the live stream channel. We'll be doing the Elite Deep Archimedean and more. So, appreciate your support, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.